everyone, and welcome to another episode of Always Open. We are so glad you're here with us, as always. I'm your host, Barbara Dunkelman, and today I'm joined by two of my very good friends, starting with Blaine Gibson.
I don't know what to do with the mic pack. I've been on this show so many times, and I'm like...
You can leave it on the table.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, there it is.
Yeah.
Hey, it's me. It's Blaine Gibson.
Blaine Gibson, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
And he hasn't been on the show for a while, but he's back, and better than ever, Chris Demarais.
Hi. Better than ever is questionable.
What have you done since the last time you were on the show to better yourself? What makes you better than ever, Chris?
Well, I've aged, so more wisdom.
Wisdom. All right.
Do you think we get wiser as we age, or do you think it starts to deteriorate
it's a
at some
mix.
point? Yeah.
I think
I feel like I'm getting dumber.
I think I'm getting more perceptive, and I have better... my answers are slower. I know that much. My answers have gotten slowed down quite a bit, but I do feel like I have better perspective on things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I agree.
like I feel like you get perspective and you generally approach things more maturely. Like,
Yeah.
You're not as like quick to
More rationally.
Yeah, more rationally. You're able
Yeah.
to like step back and be like, okay, wait, I've been in both. I've been in this situation before, or I've been in that person's situation before. So you're just more mature about it. But also, I think as you get older, you get more locked in to the way you think, the way you react, and so it's harder to be like,
Do you think you've been like that too? I feel like that's like a very like stereotypical like boomer generation kind of mindset of like being very stubborn.
It is.
I feel like maybe I'm just like being biased, but I feel like our generation, the millennial generation, is typically a little more open-minded
I would agree.
and like up to being challenged on things.
I like to think that, and I agree right now, but I also don't know what I'm going to be like when I'm like 60, you know?
Right.
I think that
all gonna
there's...
suck.
I pride myself in like being able to be proven wrong and just being like, no, you were right. This is like the right thing and stuff like that. And I think that like shows like an openness to learn. And I gravitate towards people that are like that. It's never fun to just talk to a brick wall that's like
You're literally
immovable.
talking to a brick wall. Sorry.
Well, this is fake brick.
A
Sorry
brick
to
set.
ruin the illusion.
Oh, the illusion's broken.
Yeah, you could hammer something right into it, or stick a little pin into it if you wanted to. I think it's foam.
Yeah.
Looks
But,
great though.
I mean, like even from like high school to now, I mean, obviously we've all changed, but like I even switched like political parties and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like you just gotta kind of see the other side and entertain it. Well, not Nazis though. You don't have to hear their other side.
I don't think you have to entertain those
No.
at all. Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
to have you here. Obviously, I wanted to get you guys on the show together because love talking to you guys, love picking your brains.
Mm-hmm.
But I also wanted to talk about a project that we finished but are still working on post-production for, Stinky Dragon Adventures, which I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about it on the show before. But Stinky Dragon, Tales from the Stinky Dragon is a podcast all three of us and John Reisinger and Gus Cirola are on. It's a D&D podcast. It's an actual play podcast that is like a radio play when you listen to it. So there's sound effects, music, voiceovers.
Voice actors, yeah.
Voice actors. It's one of our favorite productions that I think we've ever worked on here at the company.
Yeah.
And Stinky Dragon Adventures is an adaptation of that podcast, which is essentially like a cinematic puppet show. If putting it very simply.
Yeah, I guess the closest I can like comps would be like it's like a mix of like Adventure Time meets Fraggle Rock or some I don't know. There's really like we had a meeting the other day and you were like, "There's nothing like Stinky Dragon," and I was like, "Yeah, no, I can't really think of anything else that's like it." So
I was like, maybe the closest thing to it is like, what's that show called that Seth Green writes? Robot Chicken.
Robot Chicken.
yeah,
But,
yeah.
But even
format-wise, it's very different.
Yeah, it's kid friendly, family friendly.
aesthetic wise, Robot Chicken's a pretty decent comp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's stop motion, right?
Yeah.
And this is not stop
Yeah.
motion.
Definitely
But
not.
one thing we wanted to do when we were like trying to adapt it is because the podcast, it's Stinky Dragon is a wonderful podcast, but again, it's many hours long. It's which I think is great because of it. Like
Yeah.
it's something you can listen to.
It's what the D&D fans like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lore.
it's just like this big long story, and trying to adapt it a lot. We did this short form little puppet videos to promote the podcast.
And those were clips taken from the podcast that we then
Yeah.
puppeted a thing
One
to.
for one.
Kind of like a RTAA, if you're familiar with those.
Yeah. But people were like, "Oh, I would love to see the full podcast like that."
Yeah.
That's what people kept saying, and we're like, "Well, we can't do that because to, it's
It would
like,
take our whole lives.
We'd still be working on episode 2 right now.
yeah, I mean, it's like 100 hours or something. And I also don't think it would be as entertaining because it's like a lot of discussion and back and forth, and it's just not as like action packed. And so we're like, okay, well, how could we do a full version of the show? And really the answer was, well, it would have to be an actual adaptation where it's like we're taking the story and the characters and writing it as a show, as like a TV show, essentially.
Kind of like what Vox Machina, I think, did with Critical Role.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good comp.
Yeah.
A very good show, too. I also want to point out, too, like you guys were the writers and directors on Stinky Dragon Adventures, but for the actual podcast, Tales from the Stinky Dragon, Micah Reisinger, who is John's brother, writes and composes and edits the show and has like essentially helped create this magnificent world that we're all basing these stories off of, and the characters that we built as well.
Don't sell yourself short, because like I think it's like the big thing about D&D is it's a collaborative storytelling experience. So yeah, Micah made that, and I'm not trying to downplay Micah's role in this at all. He's so like talented, and we could not have done it without him. But also like our characters,
team effort.
Yeah, it's a big team effort. So we all had a huge part to play in making this story. So like that's why in the credits, Chris and I talked about this. It's like, who do we attribute the story to? And it's like, well, it's based on a podcast by, and it's just like a list of all of us.
People,
everyone on who's like,
and also Ben Ernst and David Saunier, who work on the show, produce and assistant direct and everything, or assistant edit. Huge team effort to make a really fun show. But I also wanted to bring up the fact that we worked on Stinky Dragon Adventures together for 9 weeks straight. 10 hours a day.
It's a long production.
And we're somehow still friends.
Yeah. I actually was talking to
Barbara, we're friends.
The table is just shaking from us kicking each other. I was talking to Kristen, or my partner Kristen, last night, and I was like, man, I don't feel like my friendships have been stronger with like Barbara and Chris. And it's just like, I'm so glad that we made it through, but also I think came out on the other end like stronger because of it.
Yeah. It's going through challenging experiences can bring you closer to people. It can also like push you away from people if you don't go through them maturely.
Well, I think that kind of
wisdom
swings back to what we talked about right at the top of the show, which is like learning to I guess like admit when you're wrong, and stuff like that, where it's like, obviously there's challenges, there's disagreements on productions like this. There's long days, there's a lot of stress that comes with it. But being able to like talk through things and compromise and work on solutions together when not everyone agrees all the time is, I think, like a big maturity step, and that comes with age.
Yeah. And we can get into this more, but like something that Chris and I talked about, and this is something I talk about with my partner and my therapist kind of bestowed this knowledge onto me. It's not you versus the person. It's you and the person versus the problem. So it's like when you guys have a team effort and your guys are just like, there's difficulties arising, it's because of this problem. It's not because of you guys. At least that's true most of the time.
But. Yeah, I mean there can be, I guess, situations where you inherently don't agree and you're fighting each other. But like, I feel like any issues we had on production or just with this project, it was truly, we were all fighting and working really hard
constantly.
Fight. I was gonna say fighting to make the best thing possible.
Yeah.
And like really cared about the thing, and so any like conflict would stem from the stress of trying to make it the best it could be, or like,
and that all stems from being really like you care a lot about the thing. Like,
it's really easy to make something and not have any conflict if you don't care.
Right.
You're like, all right, whatever.
We're all so invested. So it's just like, everybody's like, yeah.
It just really wants the best for it.
Yeah.
And that could be challenging sometimes. I still remember the first day of production. The first day of production was a challenge.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's because we were just getting into the rhythm of it. Obviously, we had shot the puppet shorts before, but this was like getting into a very big production, bigger scale, bigger storylines, everything like that, more moving pieces. And first day was tough. And I remember thinking, this is going to be not good.
This is 8 weeks.
I am really nervous about this. But then like second day was smooth sailing. I think we were all like getting into the swing of it. Obviously there was days throughout the production that were a little mind-bogglingly numb.
There's ups and downs, and that's like the case with any production. But I think a big thing was like Chris took a step back after day one and just kind of figured out what some of the, choke points were. And like, it was just a learning experience. We're constantly evolving and figuring out so that we can, all collaboratively work together on this thing.
Yeah. I think because me and Blaine, we wrote it and directed it together. So we both had, especially in the writing, a very like visions for it.
Yeah.
And we were also directing the show together.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to, you're trying to be respectful of the other person. So you're like, want to get their input
and
on
if
stuff.
there's two completely
there's two people
different
thing, and it's
ways
like,
of thinking.
We basically were, that first day, I feel like we're beyond just getting started up. It's just also like, oh, hey, does this work for you, Blaine? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or we're like, wait, did Blaine have this figure? We're kind of like stumbling over each other in a way.
Yeah.
Because the first day it hadn't been established yet, but you guys were simultaneously directing. And then after that, y'all decided, okay, we'll split up the days, we'll split up the scenes.
And so which
worked so much better.
Well, it also worked out too, because like, I think we both trust each other's visions on projects, and, we'll have inputs and ways that we can improve something, and we'll let that be known. But for the most part, it's like, when it was Chris's turn, I was pretty laissez-faire, hands off, like getting ready for my next scene, prepping and everything like that, just because like I knew he had it handled. As opposed to us just being like, well, I want him to go left.
Yeah.
It was like, well, you want him to go right.
Because it's better utilization of resources.
For sure.
It's easier for crew to be like, all right, who's taking point on this?
Yeah.
And we're, like Blaine said, it's like, okay, you're doing this one. I can start prepping for this next scene. Or I was also concurrently doing a simple walk too.
Oh my God.
You were doing post-production on that, which took a lot of your time.
Yeah. So I was even having to step away for that.
Which, by the way, check out Simple Walk 2. It's on Rooster Teeth. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to talk about challenging experiences that you come out the other side and you feel closer to the people.
You and Carrie.
And just everyone, like, and Nick Newton from that. I mean, that was, if you watch the most challenging experience I've ever had in my life.
I thought
certainly
you were going to die.
So did I.
I really thought, the fact that you came back and I'm like, oh, you're back. I was like legit surprised.
Hey, and if you like feet, check out Simple Walk too.
Oh my
Because you're going to get a whole face full of feet.
You won't like feet anymore.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, and maybe we can talk more about it another time, because I feel like there's a lot talk about just that experience with.
Yeah, maybe we'll try to get you and Carrie on together.
But I think this is a show that we make that where people you talk a little more about emotional stuff. I've never gotten more emotional on a production than I did on that one.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I cried.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen Chris cry too. So seeing that in the finale, I was like, oh my God.
I got pretty emotional in this production, Stinky Dragon Adventures.
Yeah.
Like that last shot, finishing it up, which is funny. We were talking about this the other day. The first shot we got and the last shot we got were both in episode 1.
They were the same scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was all in that castle like lineup when
with Jada.
Dude, that was a weird day too. And the way I've been explaining it to people, like, oh, how's it feel to be out of production? It's like, it feels like when I graduated college or moved to a new place, because my lifestyle completely changed. I went from like these, 9 to 7 shoots every day for 2 months, over
Staring
2 months.
At tiny little actors.
Yeah, in the same room with the same people to like, kind of a different schedule. And it's just like, it's weird. The post-shoot shock is always a weird thing. I remember I got hit really hard after Arizona Circle. Kind of went through depression because I was like, I miss all my friends and I miss being productive.
It becomes just regular part of life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For sure. Well, I guess I'm curious too. I also, before we get too far away from it, I want to shout out the rest of the crew that we worked with on Stinky Dragon Adventures.
Yeah.
We've got Cody Hawkins right over there.
Rest in peace.
Associate producer, gaffer, lighter, puppeter, everything. Cameron Pester, incredible DP.
Rest in peace.
On the shoot. Marla, who was our producer, and then Ashley Jones, who was our PA. Fantastic. Ash Schmidt, who did the fabrication, some of the puppets, all the sets and little pieces and stuff like that. Fantastic work.
And Gus Rolla for his one day that he came in to help when you were out.
Yeah. I was so jealous. I was like, I want to puppet with Gus.
But also our amazing post team, which they're all
100%.
like busy right now plugging away at the next, I think we're on like 4 or 5. So
yeah.
And by the time this comes out, I think this will be December 6th.
It'll be a December to remember. 5th? That's for sure.
Well, on the note of working together, What would you guys say is your advice for people who want to work on big projects with close friends?
Don't live together.
Have some separation.
We can't speak to that.
I can't speak to that inherently. But and again, people have done that and it works out fine. One thing I've always tried to do, at least because I worked very closely with a lot of my friends in college who I really was more like coworkers. Like Zach Ganner and a lot of older Rooster Teeth alum like Marshall Rimmer and stuff, and Josh Flanagan too. We worked together in college like that. We'd do big productions and things like that. I always made it a point, not to live because you have roommates. I was like, I want to live with people that I'm not like working that intimately with, at least in terms of like. And again, I think you can do that. That's what I need.
You just need that separation from
I need
work
that
and
separation.
life. Those boundaries.
Yeah.
Well, our producer, Marla, actually collaborates with her husband.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Some people can do it great.
So they can do it. I guess
and
Barb,
Barb,
seem in love.
You and Trevor live and work together, but y'all work on different projects.
We don't really work together.
Yeah.
Like I think it'd be way different if he was on Stinky Dragon or anything like that we worked on all the time together. But I think he and I have a relationship that could work with that.
Yeah.
I don't think everyone necessarily does.
Yeah.
I think
which is not trying to speak down on anyone's relationship.
Yeah. No, yeah.
I have an addiction to Trevor, so I'm cool with him all the time.
I think my advice would be communication, just keeping each other informed on emotions and feelings and just checking in regularly. And this is something that I practice with my girlfriend as well. It's just just checking in, even if it's things have cooled down and there's nothing going on, just having that open line of communication. Have I ever told you guys about Andy's Day? Ever told you about this?
I don't think so.
My girlfriend moved in September 12th of 2022, I want to say. So every 12th of every month, we go to a ice cream place, typically Andy's, and we get ice cream to celebrate her living there for another month. And we do a report card check-in, and we just say, "How am I doing?" And then we're always A+++++. And then that's our open, safe space to give each other our feedback. And it's
that.
Hey,
That's
I like
good.
how you handled this. I think this could be, I could do this better, so just having that constant communication, healthiest relationship I've ever been in.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
And you incorporated ice cream into it, which I think
know Chris is a big
brilliant.
fan.
We need to have an Andy's Day.
Let's have our own ice cream check-in day.
But yeah, I do think if there's something that said if you're working on something long, there's gonna be things are gonna build up.
There's gonna be tension. There's gonna be butting heads. Inevitably,
and you don't have to talk about it all the time, but I think it is important to if something comes up, rather than just completely ignore it. You don't have to stop stop, let's talk about this right now, because sometimes you're heated.
Right.
Yeah.
But having a chance to
maybe at the end of the day,
revisit and be hey, let's do, what was going on for you emotionally? Here's what was going on for me.
I'm of the opinion of doing it sooner rather than later. I think a lot of people
just nip it in the bud.
Get kind of worked up about something and then kind of hold it in and let it fester until then every other little thing that person does bothers them, and it kind of builds into this bigger thing than it needs to be, rather than right away being hey, I just want to talk to you about this thing. When you said it this way, it made me feel bad about this, or I didn't really like the way you did this without consulting me. Whatever it is, whatever the situation is, I think when you talk about it right away, it really helps give perspective on the situation to both people, rather than be well, why didn't you talk about it when the problem happened? Because
that pressure builds and builds, and then suddenly you're bringing up something from 2 months ago, and you're what the hell does that even I forgot about that. And then it's it's been bothering that other person for months,
Yeah. And knowing that it's not necessarily, I think a lot of people take feedback like that really personally.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily that, no one's a mind reader, first of all. Mm-hmm. So, I think that's to be said also with relationships, not even just, working relationships. But someone won't know something is bothering you unless you talk about it.
Yeah.
So.
Chris and I even had, as we were transitioning out of principal photography into post, we had to go get drinks to get on the same page. Because we had a couple of things where we're, bumping up against each other.
Yeah.
Sure.
We went out and got like, I was like, we spent like 2 hours at Torchy's or something, just talking over beers and nachos. And by the end of it, like, yeah, it does. But it's just also getting away from a work environment and just, hashing stuff out. Like, I felt like that was like one of the most productive talks I've had. And I feel like since then we've been really working well together. So,
and I would say it's not that we were not working.
Oh, no.
It's not, we were still.
There's always room for improvement.
Yeah. Well, we were working fine and we were like continuing about, but I think it's just like, there's been a couple things that have bothered one of us or has like blown up, and then we were like, it's fine.
Sure.
And it's like, hey, let's just like, I think it really was, because I think we were some like short text and stuff. I was like, hey, I think we have some, let's just like sit down and like
address it. It's an elephant in the room.
Yeah. And then I was like, to me, it was a big thing. I was like, let's not do it at work. Let's not do it. Like, let's go out and like have like sit down somewhere just so we're like a little more relaxed and it's not, we don't.
That's a good piece of advice too, is get out of the work environment place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, we just kind of went through going back from like, we started where we were writing.
June.
Like, yeah. Like back from like even the writing process to being like up through production. And again, I think pretty much everything was stuff that was just either a victim of circumstance or misunderstanding, and there were certain things where it's like one of us didn't handle I handled that poorly. I'm sorry. And it's like, but
having context for the
context. I didn't realize that whenever I said this, that you
we're going through that.
We're doing this, and I think it's just like, yeah. And
I
it's
think
like,
that's so important.
I'm
glad you guys did that.
I think postmortems are also just important in general, and they happen like in a lot of projects. And if you work in like a creative field, or even if you don't, if you just work on like a project to project basis, postmortems where you can come in and say, okay, highs and lows, what did we do great? What can we improve on? Like,
otherwise, you just continue and nothing ever gets better. But certainly, like if you don't stop to think about what you just did.
Yeah.
Then you're never like...
Well, no one's going to put any effort to remedying that for the next time.
And history will repeat itself.
Yeah. And we are hoping to do more seasons of this. Of course, I think I speak for all of us when we say it's like one of our favorite projects we've ever touched, we've ever made. And I think the feedback and seeing everyone's reaction to the show has been like so rewarding as well. So if you haven't yet seen it, please go check it out. It's at stinkydragonpod.com. I think right now at least 4 episodes should be available, maybe 3.
Oh, man.
Depending on the timing.
I'd like to time travel to that time.
I know. Something we're really proud of. It's all available to watch for free. And there also is a bonus show for first members, which, by the way, if you're a first member, thank you for supporting us. But it's essentially like our patronage. So if you want to get some behind the scenes, we do a director's commentary on the show. Where you have some of us and then some puppet characters as well talking about the episodes and kind of the making of it. So go check that out on stinkydragonpod.com.
Woohoo.
Woohoo! All right. Well, now let's get to other people's issues.
You send these out ahead of time, and I read one of them, and I was like, oh, boy.
So this one actually I think will be a good question to relate to stuff that we work on. All right, so this one reads, I could tell I'm burning the candle at both ends, and I don't know how to manage the life that I've created for myself. This fall, I began one of my lifelong dreams and started a doctoral program in music. This had been a big dream deferred for me because I finished my master's degree in 2019. I'm now 28 and starting a 3-year program. I want to acknowledge that I have a lot of privilege to be able to pursue a higher education, especially after several years away. I'm fortunate to have a full-time remote job that is flexible around my school schedule, as I depend on this job for income and healthcare. I have a chronic illness that would most likely bankrupt me if I didn't have decent healthcare. Essentially, my weekdays look like this. Work from 7 a.m. to noon, then I leave for class from 12:30 to 5, depending on the day. Come home and work until 6 or 7 to make sure I maintain 40 hours a week. Eat dinner, try to relax with my spouse, and then head back to campus to get my necessary 2 to 3 hours of practice in. I could be booted from the program if I do not continue to improve in skill in this area. Then I come home sometime between 10 and midnight, decompress from the day for a little bit, go to sleep, and get back up at 6:30 to start the process over again. On top of this weekly schedule, I have performances outside of work hours, rehearsals, lessons I teach, auditions and recordings to take and make, and the normal duties of keeping a house from running into the ground with laundry, cooking, cleaning, etc. My spouse also works full-time and is pursuing an online master's degree and grad certificate.
Everyone is busy.
So busy. I don't honestly know how to ensure that I'm not letting my relationships, job, schoolwork, or practicing and performances slip over these 3 years. To make a long story short, do you have any advice as a full-time creative or creatives who have a full-time day job on productively pursuing your passions without isolating yourself or letting other facets of your life suffer for the sake of work and your art? Or even advice on how to navigate my relationships during this intensive period of my life? I would greatly appreciate it. My dude.
It's a busy schedule.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I guess like my first thing would be know that this is temporary and it's very difficult right now. And I know that like, oh, pick yourself by your bootstraps and persevere is like so like crappy, but also like know that yes, this sucks in the moment, but like think of all the benefits this is going to have in the long term. So like if you could just get through this, you're going to be feeling a lot better.
It's going to suck.
3 years is a long time.
It is a very long time.
Yeah.
Because I feel I mean, not to belabor the point, but like this year I felt very fortunate and I got to do 2 really big projects that I was very excited about and passionate about. I got to do A Simple Walk 2 and Stinky Dragon Adventures, but they were concurrent, you know? And so I was going into post as we were starting production.
Yeah.
And it was, like we said, you know, the beyond the 9 to 7 we were shooting, I didn't go home and do post until 10 or 11 and then wake up.
And then you also have a partner and you have a home to maintain and it's like
a dog
to
play with.
Yeah. I was like, okay, it made it easier that there was things I cared about. If you're passionate and it's like, that certainly makes it more digestible than it's like, if it's not something you really want to be doing, then I think you really do need to make a call. Like, why are you burning it at both ends?
Yeah.
If it's not really worth it. I guess one thing I would do is you have all those things going on concurrently. You need to find times to focus on the
leisure.
And focus on those things individually, like schedule time. Like, hey, I need to do stuff with my partner and focus on them in your relationship. Because if you're trying to do them all concurrently all the time, then things are going to suffer. And I think if you can do big things and work that hard for a while, but like you still have to prioritize them each individually at different times.
Yeah.
You know?
I talked to my therapist about this too. Like when I'm in like really busy in the thick of production and I'm just like super stressed out and I feel like I'm being a bad boyfriend because I'm just like not there and present for Kristen.
You're getting A++ on your report card though.
I know, but you know.
But are you getting graded on a curve?
It feels like it sometimes. But he also said something similar. It's like scheduling. And it can be even and it sounds weird, but like scheduling sex. Yeah. Like you need to put these things on a calendar and
you can do that.
Yeah. Chris is booked up for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah,
weird.
My calendar is full.
But like scheduling is super important and it might make it feel like kind of I don't know, like cold and less romantic, but better that and you know that you're going to do that at that time than we'll just like whenever we have the energy and all that, because surprise you're never going to have the energy and never find the spontaneity, and that's how you lose that zest.
And that's part of growing up, I think, and having more responsibilities. I do agree with you. I think like trying to still give each of those things proper time when you can. I know obviously based off your schedule, it's almost impossible, but I don't know what your weekend schedule is like, but maybe, you know, at least planning 1 date a month with your partner and
playing hooky, calling in sick on a day or something so that you could do something special.
I also know like there are some part-time jobs that offer healthcare. Like, so maybe I know you say you have a good job and you like it, so maybe that's not the solution you're looking for. But if it is a situation where the job is too much and you really want to pursue your doctoral, don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Maybe it's just finding a different job that offers healthcare and taking a part-time situation to give yourself some more time there.
Depending upon the jobs and the relationship, maybe you can get healthcare through your partner.
True.
Fair.
yeah, I don't. It sounds like a challenging thing. 3 years is a long time.
Yeah.
So I think you gotta find ways to find the joy in it, and to.
Yeah. I also wonder what the balance of, because he also mentioned, keeping the house from falling apart. So like laundry, cooking, cleaning, etc. But maybe there's a situation where like you could hire.
That's I was gonna say
someone to do that, or even I don't know what the workload of you versus your partner is, but I know since they are pursuing a master's degree and grad certificate, they're probably very busy too.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a situation where you swap weeks. Your partner does 1 week of laundry and chores, and then you do the next week. So it gives you both that leeway and that time.
I mean, and I would say it's like if you're both working hard to like earn more, get degrees that hopefully will lead to better paying jobs, then it's like maybe it is worth spending the money now to give you the sanity to get there, even if you're like, because a lot of times to get higher education you have to go into debt some, and it's like, well, what's another $60 a week to have someone come and clean and do the laundry over 3 years if it's really going to like improve the quality of your life, and then in the end make
it definitely is a luxury.
It's a luxury.
It's something that you could afford and invest in, and that would free up your headspace a little bit.
That's what. Yeah, it's like little things like that. That's kind of how there are certain little things that I will spend more money on for
100%.
Just for like
the convenience of it.
It's just like groceries. It's like I weigh out like, okay, 2 hours going to at the grocery store, then coming back, and it's just like versus putting in the order, paying more, but that's like, you think about how much you're paying for that time, and it's like, I think my time is worth that.
Again, it's the time is money mentality, which I think like once you're in a financially stable position, which I understand, like we're very fortunate to be, and not everyone is in that situation. But if you are in a position, there is a sense of like, well, my time is money. And so if you could save stress,
I did the math,
hours of work to give yourself back time. And if you're in that position, then I
did the math on
how much your time is worth.
Is this boy math?
No. Well, as far as grocery shopping, I hate grocery shopping. I don't like, so it would be one of those things. It's kind of like a haircut. That's sometimes I'll go months without haircut, and I was like eating out more and spending more money because I didn't have the time or wouldn't to go grocery shopping and then cook, and then like those things
come up with what to cook.
Like I was actually spending more money by just ordering out food and doing that. And I was like, wait, if I just eat the cost of getting someone to deliver my groceries, I'll save money because they're at my house.
You're not having to go to the
and I'm not spending $20 a meal to eat out, right?
Outside of like, if you
also, I give myself haircuts.
They look great.
You do a very good job. Not as good as the one I gave you a few years ago, but
outside of trying to find those things that may or may not be, like luxuries and things that you can or can't afford. I would also say on a creative level, know when there's like diminishing returns. Like sometimes I used to do like all-nighters where I'd write scripts and I'd wake up the next day after like an hour of sleep and I'd be like, wow, this is the worst crap I've ever written because I was so tired and foggy brained. Versus, okay, I'm slowing down. It's like 10 or 11. I'm just going to put this away for now. And then I'll wake up at like 8 or 9 in the morning and then I'll try it again. And it's like, that is so much more productive than trying to push through. So like if you're struggling with creative stuff, just notice when you're not, getting a return on that investment, and then just step away from it, because that's going to help a lot.
It really does. Yeah. Like also your brain solves puzzles.
Yeah.
Like there, you can you can be stuck on something, and then not know what to do and bang your head for hours and hours, and you step away, and then the next day, all of a sudden you're like, I know exactly what to do. I see the matrix. I see all the code.
It's like whenever you're like stay up late Friday night trying to beat a video game and you're like, I'm so crap at this, dang it. And you wake up the next morning on Saturday and it's like your first try. You're like, oh, this boss fight was super easy.
Yeah.
So your brain has just been thinking on it.
Well, in that vein, I wonder too, if there's anything he listed here that he could give up, because obviously like the job and school and stuff like that are no-brainers. You can't really change that. But there's some other things like auditions, lessons, rehearsals, recordings, and stuff like that you mentioned that maybe you could give up a couple of those things. I don't know what's necessary for your program or what's like more of like personal.
Yeah, prioritize
it really is.
time in the projects that you're working on.
Being able to say, you have to say no to stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
Even if you want to do it and there's just for your own sanity, knowing when to say, hey, I can't, I'm sorry, I wish I could.
Yeah.
And that's something that I walked away from the pandemic with, is just like knowing like, okay, I need to advocate for myself and say no to some things. And like, I always got it in my own head and was like, God, people are going to think I hate them and I'm going to appear to be a lazy employee. I feel like now the things that I do say yes to, I'm a much better person at, because I'm like, not like, I'm so stressed out.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's another thing that comes with age over time.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for your advice, and thank you for your question. That was a wonderful question. And if you have a question for us, you could email that to alwaysopen@roosterteeth.com.
Good luck.
If you haven't finished your holiday shopping yet, do not panic. There is still time to find incredible original gifts with the help of Uncommon Goods. From art and jewelry to kitchen, home, and bar, Uncommon Goods has the most meaningful, out-of-the-ordinary gifts for everyone in your life. They have unique and creative gifts, often handmade or made in the US. They even have uncommon experiences like tarot card readings, romantic map making, cooking, and mixology classes, and more if you're looking for a new way to have fun and connect with your loved ones. I found so many gifts for people I love on Uncommon Goods. I also want to point out they have browsing by interest, so just so you guys know, they have geek gifts, animal gifts, foodies, mixology, reading, travel, gardening, pretty much every category you could think of. So if you have someone with a particular interest, you could just browse by interest and find something cool for them on their website. It's wonderful. Plus, with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give back $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $2.5 million to date. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/alwaysopen. That's uncommongoods.com/alwaysopen for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods. We're all out of the ordinary. We're excited to introduce a brand new sponsor, Diet Smoke. Diet Smoke is the premier source for THC products in all different strengths and sizes. They have THC gummies, drinks, and smokables, and each one is made to deliver a premium balance of flavor and effect. They seriously have something for everyone, whether you want something strong to unwind, or a boost of energy to keep you going, or a lighter option for a mellow high. You could even filter products by vibe, like sleep, active, mellow, or buzzin', to find exactly what you're looking for. I love Diet Smoke, especially their Delta 8 gummies. I often get a little worked up from stress at work, or if I just have a lot to deal with, the world is crazy. So sometimes I just want to vibe. That's actually my personal favorite choice from the list. Vibe and sleep are always great, but just getting to mellow out, focus on just relaxing, does a great job and really allows me to let go of the day's stress. So don't settle for less. Join the Diet Smoke community and discover the buzz for you. Visit dietsmoke.com today and use the code OPEN for 50% off any item and enjoy your journey to cannabis bliss. Diet Smoke, your partner in finding the perfect THC products. All right, I think we have time for one more. I'm in a long-term relationship of 5 years with my fiancé. We met on a dating app while we were both in college. We started dating pretty soon after I ended a long-term relationship that I was in since high school, even though I was definitely not looking for a relationship. I am/was very much an introvert, and having a partner who was also an introvert, I never really made friends until that relationship ended. I feel like I missed out on the traditional college experience or even the chance to make significant friendships, which has always been hard for me. My current partner is an extrovert, with tons of friends, mostly females. I grew up as a tomboy, so I always gravitated towards having male friends and thought I would be okay with his friendships. But in my inexperience in relationships and due to past events, I have tons of anxiety/overthinking of his friendships and interactions. He called me out on my behavior, which I totally agree with and was something I needed to work on. That was until he started a new job and the pandemic started. We were working from home full-time, and he started acting really sketchy. He seemed very secretive, hiding his phone, and going to the bathroom a lot. I had many emotional talks with him about my fears and worries, and he always assured me we would end up together, nothing was happening, and that he loved me. That was until he got drunk, and I snooped on his phone. He was messaging and receiving dirty pictures from a new female coworker, and it absolutely destroyed me. But I loved him, and we had already built this life together, and I didn't want to give it up, so I stayed. He ended up changing job locations, so he no longer works directly with her. At minimum, the first year after that was horrible. Constant fights, not believing he was actually sorry, not trusting him, snooping through his phone, tracking his location, just the epitome of crazy girlfriend. He has also shown just how emotionally manipulative in general he could be. Even though he has shown tremendous growth and he's very open, we communicate and can both express our feelings, everything should be good, right? We are currently engaged and are getting married, but I am scared of what the future holds for us. I am scared that we both deserve more and better in a partner. Even though he has shown that I can trust him, I still hold on to that trauma and the cycle starts all over again. Any advice?
Break up. Sorry. I'm a stranger on the internet. You do not have to listen to me, but that is my knee-jerk reaction. Man, this is a foundation of a lot of distrust, and I'm worried. And if you're asking questions to strangers on the internet, it feels like you've already figured out the answer, and you need affirmation.
I would not be surprised if this happens again, or is already happening, or has happened in the past with this person. I think if someone is willing to do that and then almost gaslight you about it as well, that to me is very troublesome, and is kind of a sign of someone who doesn't necessarily feel like they were doing anything wrong, and might not have trouble doing it again. And from experience, if someone does that, they will do it again. And that lack of trust will never go away. And I think that's like the biggest red flag in this situation is like, you don't want to spend your life with someone who you are constantly like, who are they talking to? Where are they going? What are they doing? You want to be able to have complete and utter trust in your partner, especially your life partner.
The bummer is that like it's like, oh well, they moved to a different department or different location, so now it's better.
That is a good step of like trying to make things better.
Well, I don't know
like,
if they did that themselves or if they were.
Or if it's just circumstance.
I do see like that's a good effort. Like
if they intend to do it.
It's always like scary to be like, oh, this is you have to break up because you don't know all the context, but
True, very true.
But that does sound like from the context given.
Yes,
that is certainly like, it seems like a not a safe, or I say not safe, not a comfortable situation you'd want to spend the rest of your life in.
Yes,
and
yes, of course, every question we always answer on the show, we only have the context of what you guys write in. So
and you do not have to listen to us.
I would wonder, with the context given, the person who wrote in said that they're kind of an introvert. They dated someone they met in high school for a long time.
And that was, I think, their
and
only
then they
relationship.
broke up, and then they almost immediately got into another long-term relationship. And if they're an introvert, I wonder how much of them still being together is out of comfort and feeling safe because they don't. That's what they know.
It's unfamiliar.
They've been in a relationship for what, like 10 years almost.
I think they said 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, but with the previously,
they don't really know a single.
they don't know.
Yeah, they were in a long-term relationship for 5 years.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how long their current relationship is.
So it sounds like that's the situation that they're comfortable with, and it can be very scary to leave that and or
find
change
someone
that
else
situation
who you think is gonna love you.
Yeah,
it's tough. I've been there.
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't, just because it is scary.
Right.
I think that this is always like taboo bringing it up. I think less for our generation, but still like society. Kristen and I, before we get married, we're going to get married. Before we get married, we're probably going to do couples counseling. It's something that my therapist recommended. And it's just something, a way to like, hey, make sure that you guys are on the same path and that everything's good. Like, we already know it's going to happen, but it's also just one of those things where it's like, let's just do it just to make sure we're on a very firm, strong foundation for our marriage. So I'd recommend something like that, because having a third party there.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, couples counseling.
That, and then also recognize, I always talk about this, sunk cost fallacies. You guys are engaged, so there's been a wedding ring, and there might have been like some dresses purchased, or places reserved,
or even just time spent
Mm-hmm.
in the relationship and planning the wedding. Yeah,
and just
so much
you've
time
been together for 5 years. You've worked through a lot of issues, but
there's so much that's been invested in this relationship already, but is that why you're sticking around, or are you sticking around because you genuinely love this person? Is it a comfort thing, or is it like...
You could also love someone and it not be the right person.
Yeah.
Like I love this person, I care about this person immensely, but they're not the right person for me, or this isn't the right time for us to be together, or there's a lot of reasons.
There's a lot of things about this question that they wrote in that I pick up on details of, even saying things like they're emotionally manipulative and just manipulative in general.
It's your husband, your future husband.
That's the person you're going to be putting all your trust into for the rest of your life. And if you feel like they're a manipulative person or able to make you feel a certain way about them because of manipulation, or gaslighting you into thinking that you're crazy. Also, don't call yourself a crazy girlfriend. I don't like that term. You had a hunch, and yes, while it is taboo to go look in someone else's phone, the fact that you were proven right, I think like goes to show you had a hunch for a reason. And if you don't feel like you could trust this person, or like are constantly questioning what they're doing or who they're talking to, like, again, it's going to drive you crazy.
Yeah. I guess I'd be curious if it's been 5 years.
I think the other relationship.
Sorry. If it's been a long-term thing, the question is, do you see it getting better? Genuinely.
That's a good question.
Do you feel like it's going to get better? Do you feel like where do you look 5 years in the future and be like, yes, I see, I mean, there's always going to be issues and problems and challenges, but like looking ahead, do you see it? Are you happy?
I think there's also some stuff where like people will be like, this is broken, but you know what's going to bring us closer together? Having a baby or getting married. You know, it's like people think that these life events can be Band-Aids on a broken situation, and then you guys are going to come out on top and fix it through this.
Now we have a baby.
But like, I don't know. It's, you know.
I also think, at the end of the question, she wrote, I'm scared that we both deserve more and better in a partner.
Yeah.
And I think if you even have a feeling that you think you might deserve better, you do.
Yeah.
Because like there should be, if you're about to get married to someone and ideally spend your whole life with them, you shouldn't be in a position where you're questioning that. You should know for a fact, this is my person.
There's another thing.
And you will find your person, by the way.
About that you reading it and bringing it aloud, like kind of made me think that we both deserve better. That makes me think that they don't like the person they are in their relationship.
That's a very
like
good
they
point.
don't like who they are.
Well, and they called themselves out on a couple of things too.
Like,
so
that they are not happy with themselves and the way that they act while they're in that relationship.
Yeah.
Which is like that.
Your partner should give you confidence in who you are and make you
feel better. And if you don't like who you are, it's not necessarily your fault either.
Yeah.
That, it's like it's that dynamic doesn't sound healthy.
Nope.
But again, as both of these guys mentioned, we only have so much context for the situation. So obviously our opinions, take it with a grain of salt. And only you really know what you should be doing in this situation. This is just our outside perspective and our take on what you've told us. Because it's a very complicated situation to tell someone to break up with a fiance.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But if this were me, I'd be out of there. Personally.
What if this was like like Eva Mendes talking about Ryan Gosling? She was just like,
Eva, just call me,
girl.
babe. Yeah. Well, good luck to you. I'm sorry you're in this situation, but I hope for both you and your fiance's sake that you guys find happiness. And maybe that could be together. I think couples counseling and figuring that kind of stuff out, because maybe he is growing and changing and it wouldn't do that again. But again, it's trust is, I think, number one in a relationship.
Maybe even just taking a break and seeing if you're happier. I don't know how.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah.
But in that, see, like you take a break and you're like, wait, maybe this is what we should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe sometimes it's hard, I think, to like fully commit to like, let's break up and end it versus being like, hey, let's take a break and reevaluate, and it makes it easier to like an easier pill to swallow. I don't know if that's
that engagement is a lot of added pressure. Yeah. That definitely complicates the situation, but I also don't think it should be the thing that rules the decision.
Yeah.
Were they engaged before?
They're engaged right now.
Yeah. Were they engaged before?
It felt like to me they improved after that event.
Yeah, it sounded like that happened. They, improved. He, apologized, things got better, and now they're engaged. Is what I understood from this.
My read is they probably had like the honeymoon experience at the beginning of the relationship, then things went sour, and then they got engaged, and now they went fell in love again, and then now it's like, well, the doubts are kind of coming back.
Yeah,
which is like a natural ebb and flow, but also like this one in particular doesn't sound like the healthiest.
Mm-mm. Well, good luck. Thank you for writing us. Keep us posted. Send us another email if anything changes.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you for being on the show today.
Thanks for having us.
Woohoo.
Of course. One more plug for Stinky Dragon Adventures before we go. Go check it out.
Go watch it, please. We want to make more, and with your help, you too can feed a puppet in need.
They eat felt and nothing else.
They eat their own flesh.
All right. Well, thank you guys for being on the show. And thank you guys for watching this episode of Always Open. We're very happy you're here with us. Go check out Stinky Dragon Adventures on stinkydragonpod.com, as well as all the other fun content we have over on Rooster Teeth. Thank you for being here. Goodbye.
Action, sir.